Pedro Alonso Lopez was born October 8, 1948 in Venadillo, Colombia. He witnessed acts of prostitution by his mother while growing up, that had disturbing effects on his psychiatric health, according to Lopez in an interview after his arrest. His mother ejected him from their home at the age of 8 after he was caught sexually abusing his sister. He was taken in by a neighbor briefly, but his mother came to collect him and took him to the edge of town before abandoning him. After Lopez returned home again, his mother took him on a bus ride, around 78 miles away, where his mother once again abandoned him. He never saw her again. The last night he saw his mother, Lopez was approached by a child predator and assaulted. While Lopez experienced several other sexual assaults over the next decade, he credited this first attack as the moment he chose to rape and murder children. "I lost my innocence at the age of 8, Lopez told journalist Roy Leitner during a 1980 interview, and I decided to do the same to as many young girls as possible. According to Lopez, he killed as many as 350 girls from 1969 until his arrest in 1980, spanning across Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru. He would accumulate trinkets as he traveled, such as lipsticks, mirrors, and costume jewelry, which he would offer to his victims. I walked among the markets searching for a girl with a certain look on her face," he recounted to Leitner. "A look of innocence and beauty. She would be a good girl, always working with her mother. I followed them, sometimes for 2 or 3 days, waiting for the moment when she was left alone. Once Lopez had successfully lured his victim away, he would rape her, strangle her, and dump her body in a shallow grave, often reusing a grave to hide multiple bodies. The missing children were initially suspected to have been runaways, trafficked, or sold into slave labor. In 1978, Lopez was caught in Peru while trying to abduct a 9-year-old girl. The locals restrained, stripped, and tortured him before digging a hole with the plan to bury him alive. An American missionary happened to pass by and convinced the mob to leave Lopez alive. She took him to a police outpost, however he was not charged. Instead, Lopez was deported to Colombia, and he illegally crossed the border into Ecuador, almost immediately. "I like the girls in Ecuador," Lopez told Leitner. "They are more gentle, more innocent and trusting than the girls in Colombia, who are too suspicious of strangers." Lopez was arrested after he was seen escorting a 10-year-old girl away from a market, whose mother's screams alerted others nearby. He was placed in a cell with an undercover investigator who posed as a fellow inmate. After the pair shared a cell for 27 days, Lopez confessed to between 300 and 350 murders. He agreed to take police to a makeshift cemetery which contained the graves of 53 victims between the ages of 8 and 12. He also provided officials with the locations of some 20 other grave sites. No more bodies were recovered due to the graves being disturbed by either scavenging animals, natural causes, or construction. Lopez was convicted of 110 murders, 53 counts for the bodies recovered, and an additional 57 victims he had confessed to having killed in Ecuador. "We may never know exactly how many young girls Lopez killed," director of Ambato prison Victor Hugo Lascano told reporters. "His estimate of 300 may be very low. In the beginning he cooperated and took us each day to 3 or 4 hidden bodies. Then he tired, changed his mind, and stopped helping." Dr. Dirk Gibson of the University of New Mexico, author of Serial Killers Around the World. The global dimensions of serial murder, also doubts the estimate of the 300 victims Lopez claimed. Many if not most exaggerate their victim count. These aren't exactly honest people, and they are interested in glory, so they inflate their crimes. But at the very least, he killed up to 70 people. Years after being captured in Ecuador, Lopez took part in an interview in which he detailed his killings and the pleasure he felt from his demented acts. According to a summary containing parts of the interview on the True Crime database, he cites his innocence being taken away from him at such a young age as the reason his murderous tendencies began, his past twisting his mind into something beyond sick. The monster of the Andes goes on to detail how he'd follow a child sometimes for 2 or 3 days before luring her off with a shining trinket, the moment she was left alone. From there, he'd take victims to the edge of town, where he'd show them affection and treat them lovingly until the sun began to rise. Lopez needed the light when he sexually assaulted and strangled his victims. He needed to see their eyes as they struggled and died. It would have been wasted in the dark, I had to watch them by daylight, the killer admits. Lopez says the moment he killed his victims was divine and that only killers could know the pleasure he felt. The ravings sound like something you'd hear from the worst Hannibal Lecter-type killers, containing details about Lopez having parties with his victims' corpses until he grew bored of them, and went off to find new ones to play with. Lopez was released early from his hospitalization and disappeared. He hasn't been seen since, alive or dead.